We're going to talk about speed limits.
Woo!
Again.
Nice.
But I've had a revelation this week that is a different discussion than all of the ones we've had on speed limits.
It's not because we're running out of topics?
No.
Nice.
And I have very little data to back this up, but I still think I'm right.
That is the most American thing you've ever said.
I'm holding a pen in my hand.
Continue. You look very intelligent right now.
This makes me right. The problem with speeding is not speeding. It's with artificially low speed limits and arbitrary enforcement. Hear me out.
All right, go on. Show your work.
People equate a 25 mile an hour speed limit with, let's say, 40 miles an hour in their brain. Not knowingly, but that's how fast everyone is actually going. Nobody drives 25 miles an hour in a 25. Nobody drives 35 in a 35. Nobody drives 60 in a 60. The typical enforcement is 10 miles an hour over the speed limit. That's kind of the rule of thumb. There's some departments like Manaway that'll ticket you for 1 over.
So you take 1 inch past the sign.
Yes.
Woo!
There's other departments that are 15. And then it comes down to the individual cop. But there's, in general, and this is true with speed cameras are typically programmed to ticket you at 1 mile an hour over, 10 miles an hour over. So the real speed limit is 10 miles an hour more than the posted speed limit, which creates confusion because it's arbitrary. It's just like raising kids. If you say you need to do this the first time I tell you and then say, well, but really, I mean the second time I tell you, they're never going to respect you and obey you. But let's go back to this. People then think that they need a 25 mile an hour speed limit in all these places where 40 is a perfectly reasonable, safe, acceptable speed because they think that 25 is 40 based on their brain, seeing people drive by and like subconsciously equating that speed to the posted speed limit. They then say, oh my gosh, 35 is way too fast. Because when they're in a 35 zone, people are going 50. And they don't want people going 50 through residential neighborhoods. So they go, we need 25. And then it makes criminals out of all the people going 36, when in reality, it's a perfectly safe and reasonable speed. If you don't believe me, you can do this test on your own. Drive exactly the speed limit, exactly the posted speed limit for 1 day. See how many people pile up behind you. See how much road rage you get. See how abnormally slow it is.
I mean, I will say when I'm in a 25 and I'm going like 30, people still are up my bum.
Yes.
Constantly.
All of them. Even the Priuses.
Yeah, it's wild.
I followed a Prius into our neighborhood that could not negotiate the corner after the three-way stop. I think it was 8 to 10 miles an hour. Legitimately, it was going around the corner. And then they were going 38 to 40 down our straight, which is 25 miles an hour.
It's so hard to go 25 on your road.
It's nobody does. It's not a reasonable expectation. But the previous owners or somebody petitioned for this stretch to be 25. And here's my other case in point. Probably because when it was 35, people were going 50 plus, which is arguably too fast out here. There's a couple of blind crests and entrances past those. But I am an expert in speed approximation.
Nice.
Because I've played with a radar gun, so I've calibrated my brain. But
eyeballs.
We have a 25 mile an hour outside our house, and we can see like a long stretch of it because we're up on a hill. When people go by fast, and I mean like really fast, like a bunch of cops went by the other day, full code, flying. And she's like, oh my gosh, they must be going at least 45. I go, no, they're doing like 70, babe. They are hauling. But a light bulb went on, and I go, well, she thinks they're doing 45 because they're going so much faster than everybody else, and she's equating everybody else that's actually doing 45 to doing 25. So she's seeing this relative difference in speed going, that's a dangerous speed. That's 45. 45 is dangerous. 25 isn't. And I'm going, no, that is 45. 45 is reasonable out here, reasonably safe. 60 is crazy.
Yeah, 60 is nuts. I will say, though, there is a street near me that is very residential, and it is essentially runs parallel to another residential street. The other street is 25, and that's okay, normal. The street I'm talking about is 35, and I never go 35. There's just the road is kind of crappy, and it's all just houses and people outside, and it just feels like I'm flying to go 35 through this little stretch of this neighborhood. But that also feels so arbitrary. Why is that 35 and then one street over that looks the exact same as 25?
Jurisdiction, petitions, something, who knows, number of accidents, HOA complained, whatever it is. But this concept of enforcing speed limits not at the speed limit and then resetting everyone's thinking damages when you actually should raise the speed limit and you don't allow people to. So therefore you make criminals out of people who are going what should be a natural speed limit, what should be the speed limit, because that's what the majority of people are traveling at, because they deem it as a reasonable speed for that road because they're looking around and paying attention. Yeah, there's some people that just go way too fast. I get it. But it's the 85-15 rule. You get 85% of people going within 15 miles an hour of each other.
I would like to think this is probably exacerbates the poor highway driving etiquette that we have, because somebody's like, well, it's 65 and I'm going 70. Nobody should be going any faster. Meanwhile, there's people rocketing by at 90 in the slow lane. I've got I'm driving a little bit more on the highway now than I ever used to, and it is astonishing to me how bad people are. Mm-hmm. And I'm constantly on the defensive because nobody has lane discipline and everybody's going 20 miles an hour over the speed limit.
Yet they're all self-righteous about whatever lane they happen to be in or whatever speed they're going, whether it's 3 miles an hour under or 3 miles an hour over. I'm going 6 over. You shouldn't be going 10 over.
And it's just let it. That's what really grinds my gears.
Yeah. Even my dog knows, right?
He's a smart boy.
No, I'm serious. My dog has been trained to think that 45 is normal outside our house, because if somebody goes by at 25, you know how I can tell? Because my dog starts barking at them because it's so abnormally slow that the dog thinks the person is turning into our house.
Oh, and he has to say hello in a very kind manner and calm manner.
Yeah, that's how slow 25 is as a speed limit. And that's proof that our perception is trained by observation subconsciously. My dog can estimate speed, and 25 is too slow in a 25. The 25 should be 35 or 40. But along with that, we should then enforce the speed limit as the speed limit and say, if it's 40, it's 40. Not this arbitrary, well, might be 5 over, you get a ticket, might be 10, might be 20, I don't know. Because then that creates enmity between people who choose to go 5 over but don't like other people going 10 over. Again, it's all arbitrary. We've set this system up for ourselves by setting too low speed limits in the first place and then arbitrarily enforcing them. And then the other problem is not just the perception of speeding, but the actual prosecution of it, right? So if you get in an accident that arguably shouldn't be your fault, but you were speeding. You weren't actually going too fast. You were just going above the posted speed limit. So now it's your fault. Maybe it's not your fault, but somebody can go to court and pull the speed and go, you were going 10 miles an hour over the speed limit. Well, the speed limit's set artificially low. Well, but you're going 10 miles an hour. So was everybody else, and so has everybody else been for the last century. No, but you're going to get sued in court because you were going over an arbitrary number that they set.
I also hate it when we've had somewhere around here recently that has lowered a stretch of road from 35 to 30 because they think it's going to make things better. And it's so annoying because I just keep going the same speed, as does everybody else.
No, they'll make their bottom line better. They can write more tickets.
Yeah.
Bump that quota up.
Anything lower than 25 is even skeptical, but I've seen in some very residential, like specific communities, a 15 mile an hour speed limit that nobody enforces. There's no cops in there. It is hard to drive 15 miles an hour. Mm-hmm. You have to focus so much on doing that, if that is what you choose to do, that you can't notice anything else going on. And like, what gear am I supposed to be in for that? For just like puddling along.
The one thing I did like about Scotland is that where they had 20 or 30 mile an hour speed limits, I felt like that was really an appropriate speed, but they used them judiciously. It wasn't just like, oh, it's residential, it's 30. It was, in town, built up areas and lots of people crossing the street and stuff like that, and blind corners. It's like, okay, yeah, I'm good with 30.
Yeah,
I don't need to go 32. No. But if I think if we really believe that speeding is a problem, which on this podcast, admittedly, we don't, I think the speed limit, first, the speed limit should be raised. But even if they're not, if we really believe it's a problem, which everybody says they does, but they don't in practice because everybody speeds, I think all departments and speed cameras and everything should enforce the limit like Manaway does at 1 mile an hour over all the time, consistently. If you break the law, you break it, period. And if you actually did that, I think you would find out people would revolt and say, no, we have to raise the speed limits because they realize, oh my gosh, I have to drive this slow for real. This
like
is
every
the speed
time
limit?
I go into
No
Manaway,
way.
I'm like, God, this sucks. Can I go somewhere else?
Yeah. So I guess the way to fix this is either raise the speed limits or lower the threshold for tickets. Ticket everybody all the time, and then people will realize how regulated we are and go, no. Bump those speed limits up.
At least then it's clear.
I would be okay with that. It is clear. I would still break the law and get lots of tickets. But in principle, I'd be like, yes, officer, you're right. Yep. Okay.
100%.
Yep. This is consistent enforcement. Works with parenting. Yeah. All right. Brings us to the props and flops of the bye week, brought to you by Switchcars.
And Switchcars is the enthusiast dealership where we buy, sell, and consign only cars that we like ourselves. Check out our handpicked inventory at switchcars.com and mention Switchcast for special pricing. You can find more information at switchcars.com or come visit our showroom in Twinsburg, Ohio. Doug, what's the pick of the week?
Pick of the week is a 2006 BMW Z4M Roadster.
Ethan.
Back when M was a real thing.
Upgrade.
30,000 miles, 6-speed manual. These are like really underrated cars, I think. Or maybe not. Maybe they're exactly a $30,000 car and everything else is overhyped.
Yeah, that one.
Yeah.
Bring
Maybe
down
the
car
term
prices.
underrated is actually overused.
Yes.
Maybe the Z4M is just a really fantastic driving experience for a normal amount of money.
No, I think I think it's your previous point. Everything is so overpriced and so overrated that things are just normal. Everybody's like, oh my God, everybody's sleeping on this. It's like, no, that's about right.
No, they've had too much coffee on everything else.
Yes. Calm down.
Flop of the week. I found a video on Instagram sent to me by John Sabo showing why Ferrari charges $15,000 for their hand-painted badge option. It's going through all the different layers. Did you see this?
Is this one of the guys? No, but I'm going to guess. Is this a guy sitting in the factory with some dramatic music and he's got one of those like painter's boards that you saw Bob Ross have, and he's sitting there with a paintbrush? And
No. He has a spray gun. And it's showing this process of taping it off, spraying it, taping it off again. Basically like paint by numbers, but with a spray gun.
I mean, technically you're using a hand, but like that's not really what you think of.
No.
I want to see brush strokes.
And that was the first comment on the post is, if it's $15,000 for hand painted, I want hand painted, no sprays. Because that's how they did it back in the day. They hand painted the racing livery on the cars. They hand painted the Scuderia Ferrari. Give me friggin' hand painted with all the imperfections and everything. But also $15,000 is freaking insane for a logo. Like, that's Ferrari just proving why their shareholders love that company so much.
You could probably pay a beautifully skilled local painter to paint the shield on the side of the car, and it would be way less expensive and look way cooler.
And also Ferrari would sue you because you're violating their trademark.
Well, details.
Yeah.
Make it a moose? I don't know. Oh,
And
that didn't
you
work
couldn't
either.
resell it because it's paintwork. It's aftermarket. It's not factory.
No!
Yeah. I think they embed the serial number in their hand-painted badge options.
Does this belong here?
Boy. Prop of the week. Tyler, did you come up with one?
No, I was going to say,
Great.
Doug, it's blank.
I've got one.
Sweet.
Prop of the week. We're on a $1,500 car challenge road trip this week with Vin Wiki and some other people for a lot of people's birthdays. And we went to racetracks, including a dirt track in somebody's backyard, road course, mid-pond. We toured museums. We did drag races. And our friend Nick Kruger and Chris Michaels brought a 1986 GMC fire truck. That was the vehicle they bought for $1,500.
When I first saw the photo of this, that I don't even remember who sent me, I thought it was just like on the side of the road. I didn't think it was actually someone's car.
No, it was awesome. They were burning, I think, 2 gallons of oil a day.
Oh,
Multiple gallons of fluid through the diff. Definitely won the OPEC award if it was such a thing. But they were not the slowest in any competition except maybe the drag race.
really?
Chris and Nick were wheeling that thing around all of the tracks.
All right.
Impressively, drifting it. They were less than a second slower. They had a rolling start on this one, so whatever. Kind of not fair, but they were less than a second slower than my Honda Accord around the dirt track.
Wow.
Less than 1 second.
That's nuts.
Yeah.
Even with a rolling start, that's crazy.
I mean, it was like an 8 mile an hour rolling start. So maybe a couple second advantage, but
whoa.
Yeah.
That's impressive.
Very impressive. Props go to them. The rest of us got seemingly normal cars other than the Mercedes limo, but to bring a fire truck. Oh, they did the tail of the dragon on the fire truck.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, that was actually miserable for them because it's very narrow. There's no room for to slide it around like on a racetrack, and it's just constant lock to lock. So props to them for wheeling that thing around all week. Thank you for joining us for Switchcast with Doug Tabbitt and Tyler Sanders, produced by Ethan Huffnagel. Switchcast is an automotive entertainment and opinion show, and nothing we say should be taken very seriously. We do not give tax, investment, legal, emotional, or professional advice, and the only licenses we hold are driver's licenses. The opinions expressed on this show are exclusively held by the people pontificating at that moment and do not reflect the values of our producers or sponsors. Our theme music is provided by Emily and Ivory. You can stream their full album on Spotify or SoundCloud. If you like this show, you can stream it in its entirety on your favorite audio podcast platform. Check out switchcast.live for more info.